Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We have the president of France, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, who visited China for 3 days. For 3 days. And while in China, he made some statements, obviously calling on China to somehow slap Russia over its snot and say, you know what, stop the war because you are the aggressor and we are the victims. Now, he made this little statement, and this statement is kind of like, how to put it, unsincere. And even if it's sincere, it can't be done. Why? Because France, unfortunately, is following US's orders. So this article comes from Russia Today. It is from today, April 9th, 2023. Macron refuses to back US line on China. Now you have to remember this comes from Russia Today, so they are obviously willing to make this headline as it is. Let's see what Macron actually said. The French president distanced himself from Washington's confrontational policy on Taiwan. Western Europe must pursue, and I'm quoting, strategic autonomy and avoid getting dragged into confrontations on behalf of the US, Emmanuel Macron told Politico on Sunday. The French president has made similar assertions before, but has nevertheless followed Washington's lead on Ukraine. It's true, but you see, this is the Russia Today's interpretation of what he said. I would like to read what he said. In an interview while traveling within China this week, Macron told the news site that, and I'm quoting, Europe faces a great risk, end quote, if it, and I'm quoting, gets caught up in crises that are not ours. And I'm quoting, the paradox would be that, overcome with panic, we believe we are just America's followers, end quote, Macron said. And I'm quoting again, Macron, the question Europeans need to answer is it in our interest to accelerate a crisis on Taiwan? And he answers no. The worst thing would be to think that we Europeans must become followers on this topic and take our cue from the US agenda and a Chinese overreaction, end quote. Macron met with Chinese President Xi Jinping prior to the interview, concluding afterwards that if, and I'm quoting, Europeans cannot resolve the crisis in Ukraine, how can we credibly say on Taiwan, watch out, if you do something wrong, we will be there, end quote. So, what do you think? The French president, and I'm quoting, is still talking about the strategic independence of the EU, end quote. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov remarked last summer, adding, and I'm quoting, I am certain they will not be allowed to have it. Well, I concur. I agree with whatever Lavrov said over there, not because I like Lavrov, but because look at France's actions. You might say, well, it's okay because France has its own interest, and at this point it coincided with the American interest. So there you have it, Emil. Yeah, that's a valid point. But, and that little but is going to change something. I'm going to tell you, I made this argument a few times already when I wanted to emphasize that Macron is a weasel, intelligent weasel, but still a weasel. And, weasels are sneaky, but he's an intelligent weasel. So what happened? If you remember, maybe it was in about July, August, about that time, last year, another weasel from Ukraine, called Macron out, the president of France, La République, right? Yeah. He called him out and he said, well, what is going on with Macron talking with Putin every day? And Macron shit his pants. And he stopped talking to Putin for about a month and a half. Why? That was a weasel Ukrainian or a guy from Ukraine saying something. I don't think France give up about Ukraine, does it? I don't think Macron takes orders from Ukraine, does he? No, he doesn't. But that was a signal from somewhere else, from across the Atlantic. And what did he do? About a month and a half, he didn't talk at all. Like he was a little pussy scared. You know what I mean? And he ran down under his little rock where he crawled from. And he stayed over there a month and a half. And then when he got the opportunity, he and the other weasel, Olaf Scholz, who's a dumb weasel, not even sneaky weasel, had to communicate something to Putin. And Macron crawled out of his little rock and say, moi aussi, me too, I'm coming. And he was calling Putin, hey, Vladimir, what's going on here? We're kind of upset with your behavior lately. And Putin was like, get the fuck out. Anyway, that's how Macron called again Putin, together with the other weasel, dumb weasel, Olaf Scholz. Until then, he kept his mouth shut. So you tell me that Macron, when he says, yeah, we have to have an independent blah, 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 he's going to do it? You're going to have a little guy like Kirby, or Sullivan, or some weasel, some third tier guy in Washington, D.C., just telling Macron, hey, Macron, take a shit and go back to your little rock, Arkansas. And he's going to go over there immediately. So, yeah, Macron is talking about it. And you know what's sad? Not because Macron is doing what he's doing and he allows friends to be treated like that, because he represents friends. And I always think of Napoleon. What if he would come nowadays and he would see the state of the French Republic of wow? What would he do? He looked around in Paris and say, where the fuck am I? What? Huh? What do you think? What do you think he would do? Can he do anything? Hey, it was no democracy then, so I guess we have it better now. Just think about that. Whenever France does something, or Macron, their leaders, just think of Napoleon Bonaparte. And I'm not talking about him taking his sword, getting on a white horse and destroy the Prussians and everybody else. No, I'm not talking about that. Pride. Respect yourself. That's been gone and buried. So don't think that Macron, he's talking. But if he gets a little bit too loud, one of these guys is going to say, hey, Macron, get up back there. And he's going to go. Like a little girl, or a little boy, all right? Equal opportunity, whatever here. So Macron is what he is, and unfortunately France became what General de Gaulle did not want it to become, and it became the slave or the follower of Zimbabwe from across the Atlantic, the land of the free, right? The home of the brave. Yeah, only under coalitions. That's how the home of the brave are acting in the past 30 years. Only with coalitions we are brave. Doesn't tell you something? And we got what, 330 million people? We needed a coalition to go to Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya or Yugoslavia. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.